analyze how do we get over the tendency to
I
pretend.
didn't think that we have to quit all the pretense. It's a part of the thing.
Okay, that's a good question. First of all, why do we need to even not be pretentious?
It's part of marketing.
It's part of the whole norm, the created norm of the society. Why do you need to even be otherly?
To be real and artificial. It's a liar.
It's a liar.
But it's a part of marketing. I would say that.
So, wonderful. Okay, it's part, that lie is a part of a marketing. So that means our whole structure is based on a lie. So we have to keep on perpetuating this lie. This is his point of view. So then he says, no, but what there is a, it's
Be real and artificial.
that what is the benefit? Now that's an excellent question. What is the benefit of correcting that lie? Because if everybody is buying into this lie, what is the benefit of correcting this lie and making it into a real rather than artificial thing? It's an excellent question, right? So now I'm going to answer your question because it's a very, very pertinent question. Now anybody else has anything to say? Yeah.
I think pretense fuels pretense. So the minute you pretend and you're encouraging other people to pretend, it's harder for someone to like break up with that vicious cycle.
And then you keep on increasing. Because now everybody projects, I have a BMW, then you have to project what? Now I have a Rolls Royce to distinguish yourself from somebody else. So you keep on moving what? Further and further away from realities. Right? Because the pretense doesn't all remain at one level. If everybody starts, then you have to be even better comparatively. So it keeps you what? There is no end to how far you can go. It takes you away from reality. Yeah, please. But why should you not be away from reality that I'm going to answer?
Be able to accept the way you are. If you lack something, you will try to work harder to achieve that. So if you accept the way you are, you will be able to do that.
Excellent. I think the point that, what's your name? Huh? Priyamvada. Priyamvada. What a beautiful name. Oh my God, Priyamvada. Ah, lovely name. Okay. What?
Yeah, I would say that there's only so long that you can pretend to be somebody else, you know, because first time you meet somebody, second time, first 3-4 times you can pretend to be somebody else, but then sooner or later the reality comes out and it shows.
Wonderful. See, the thing is, the reality has its own strength. Don't underestimate the strength of reality. The pretense, please, go ahead.
But it is not binary that either you are pretending or you are not pretending. It is
True. We all
It's a
pretend
gradient.
to a certain degree.
so. How do you classify as to where you have to stop or where you
Yeah.
should do or should not do?
Yeah. So therefore, my whole talk from now on is not going to give you an advice of what you should do and what you should
In
not
terms
do.
of figuring out
But
things.
I'm going to analyze. Analyze as to, why do you need to be in touch with realities? What do you lose by not being in touch with realities? Okay? So this is going to be the topic. And because this is the whole approach of Bhagavad Gita. Okay? So now, the first thing that happens when you're not in touch with reality is, let's say, somebody has asked you what school you went to and you gave what? Some fancy name which actually you didn't go to. Right? So, because like who's going to find out, right? That person, you don't know when you meet that person again. And at least now the person is impressed. And then you continue with your life and that person continues with that person's life, right? So you feel what's wrong. And at least at that point, you feel, the person said, oh wow, you went to that school, and then you feel good, right? Now, what is the problem with that? The problem with that is, this is where the Bhagavad Gita wants it. There are a lot of activities going on, so there is a lot of battle of vessels and stuff. Okay. Now, problem with that is the minute you tell somebody not truth, there is a mechanism in the nature. This is what Bhagavad Gita points out. Okay? It will give you a feedback about the nature of your action. What is that feedback? You told something to somebody that you know is not true. What will happen to you? Guilt. Guilt is a feedback from the universe to you about the nature of your action. The minute, so that means whether the person will ever know it or not is non-consequential, it's inconsequential. What you feel is what this guilt. So that means that guilt feeling that you have is what, in addition to what, something which is, can, along with guilt, can your mind be peaceful and tranquil? Never. Right? Now, along with that guilt feeling, there is also somebody else and you get scared. Something will also, again, the feedback from the universe. Okay? You have fear. What if this person finds out? Your initial thing is, yeah, when will I ever meet this person? Let me say. Then you will go home and say, oh, but what if that person knows my boss and they happen to talk? And then they will say, oh, this person went to this school. And then my boss will say, what nonsense. Because my boss knows the truth, right? And they have my CV. Then the whole thing will create what next time you see your boss, not only it will stay with you all night, next time you see your boss, what, or some colleague, what will happen? There is this feeling of fear that will always stay. There are costs. Otherwise, anybody can ask, if we have created artificial societies which are not in keeping with reality, why should we stick to realities? We have to stick to realities not to oblige others but for ourselves, because not sticking to reality has its own cost. And the costs are guilt, fear. What is the other cost? Tell me. You know, we are all too smart. Everything that comes, we have some remedy. So guilt comes. Okay, I don't want to deal with that guilt. Let me go get drunk. This is how our entertainment is all diverting. Because I can't stand myself with guilt, fear, sadness. So the whole entertainment is what? Forgetting your mind. So it makes you feel good. So that means your mind is constantly carrying what? Junk. And you need to forget it and leave it aside to feel entertained. What an impoverished society we have created. Nobody can stand themselves. And every entertainment is forgetting themselves and diverting attention. So therefore, this is the second thing. The guilt and fear. What is the third thing that happens?
Denial.
Sorry?
Denial.
Denial. Okay? Denial means what? What do you mean by denial? Denial of what and by whom?
So you accept that this is the norm and going to the path is system.
Yeah. So you start to justify, because see, every time you feel guilty, you need to tell yourself something to let go that guilt. So what do you justify yourself by saying, if everybody is like that, I can't be any different. So this is a norm. So that means what is a distortion starts seeming like what? Norm to you. What is a distortion? Look at this, how much we entangle our minds. What is a distortion? We convince ourselves that this is a norm. Because otherwise we can't live without it. If we have start convincing ourselves that the distortion is a norm, how far will you go? You will go so far in that distortion because every time you will convince yourself this is a norm, this is a norm, this is your norm. Then the universe has a mechanism to what? Bring you down. It will let go for a while, then it will cause a collapse. Okay? So therefore, this is something which is very important, that denial, even to see that this is away from reality and therefore it is a distortion, that is a huge disservice that we do to ourselves, to our integrity. Okay? Then, the story doesn't end there, we all not dealt with. But this denial that he was talking about will then lead to what? Our further, every time an opportunity comes, you will increase your, and you're further and further away from reality. Then, there is something which is what we call look. The outlook is everybody is pretending. Everybody is dishonest. Everybody is not in the quality of your living. Imagine, you think about the world as being unfair, people are pretentious, people are not honest, please people and show themselves as something. If this is what you think is the world, what is going to be the nature of your interaction?
Like every person is
Absolutely. You suspect everybody that you speak to because you can't take anything at face value. Because you yourself are exaggerating and others are also exaggerating according to you. You can't trust anyone. You become suspicious. Imagine now, all the things that you acquire. Guilt, fear, suspicion. Every interaction is, is she telling me the truth or not? How much, what percentage should I take it as real and how much is inflated? Right? So therefore, with this suspicion, and each one is suspicious. You are suspicious towards the other, and other is equally suspicious towards you. We create a mess. That's why all these prayers that we do in the morning, if we haven't taken care of all this, they just remain prayers. They don't get integrated in our lives. It's just something that you have to do every 5 minutes and it loses its meaning because our lives are so disconnected with these ideals in our brain. Suspicion, then distrust. You can't trust anyone and you can't trust anything. Whether you are at work, whether you are in the what? At family, friends, you don't trust. Why? Because you know you are not representing the truth, and others also do the same. So therefore, imagine to live a life with these feelings. That little pretense that you have has cost you what? Guilt, fear, suspicion, lack of trust, and orientation towards life when you become, our teacher used to say, a ninja. Ninja means fighting with everybody else because you always have to be back. You never can just, So constantly you are at guard. And there is a conflict. Now, luckily, what has happened is, nowadays, you recognize that everything that you carry, all the confusions that you carry in your mind, slowly start manifesting what? At the level of the body. Anxiety, nervousness, tumors. And there are a lot of diseases that we have, which are all stress-related, psychosomatic, the diseases. I'll just tell you a thing that one of my uncles was founder of psychology. He was a psychiatrist. And he brought in the discipline of the psychiatry to India. A very famous psychiatrist. And at that time, in this hospital, people only wanted to be orthopedic surgeon, ophthalmologist. Psychiatry was seen as for people who are mad. And right, those people who are mad are like, for you, what percentage of people are like completely mad and hallucinating and all? How many in a society? Huh? Very, yeah, 1%. Whereas who has eye issues and the bone issues and all? Almost everyone, right? So psychiatry was seen as something which is meant for only those 1% who are totally insignificant. So nobody wanted to study psychiatry because eye issues everybody has. Now he started that about maybe 20 years ago. Then his son became a psychiatrist who is also a very famous psychiatrist in Bombay. And his third generation, his son also became a psychiatrist. And the grandson of this original founder went to Harvard, and now he's in a Harvard hospital in the psychiatry. So once in a family gathering, we met the middle, the middles. And we said, you have had 3 generations of psychiatrists. How has psychiatry evolved over a period of time? And he says that during my father's time, it was only what psychiatry was meant only for that 1% of mad people. He says now, when my son is studying psychiatry at Harvard, and he's a doctor, he says almost everything gets connected to your mind. How you feel, how you think, what are the values you have, how you interact with the world, how you behave, all your actions, everything is related to what? Your mind. There is nothing which is away from what? So that means psychiatry applies to me. Everybody, not just those 1%. And if we have created those distorted societies, and if we have started with thinking, convincing ourselves that those distortions are norms, and as a result of that denial, we are all stuck with all these problems of what? Guilt, fear, distrust, suspicion, which all starts manifesting as our stress, our nervousness, our physical ailments. Who would not give that direction a right? Tell me. Who would say this is just a side issue that I need not take care of? It percolates every area of your life and your being. This is how the nature is. If you're oblivious to how the universe works and just create a distortion away from realities and you're in a denial, your fall comes very, very quickly in many different ways. So that means you're not being not pretentious because you have to follow Gita. Please understand that. Or that you have to believe in what I'm saying. You are not pretentious because what? It costs you a huge deal that you don't recognize otherwise. Gita only points out what the nature of that clause. The enormity of that clause that generally we are oblivious to. When you begin to understand that, what will happen at this party that somebody has lost interest in you and you feel that you have to impress that person? What is more valuable? To impress a person or to accumulate guilt, fear, suspicion, lack of trust and all of this? Which is more important? Tell me. Huh? Your personal integrity is so much more important. You can deal with what? This 2 minutes of the person losing interest in you. What's the big deal? But if you haven't analyzed how it affects you, then that will become, yeah, everybody is doing it, so let me also do it. Unpretentious is something which has a huge value, not for anybody else, but for your own personal God, not God.
So I think that answers your
No, I
Yes.
really not.
Yeah, so that answers that question because
If I take the war strategy also, the people when they used to go for a war, suppose 2,000 people are like on one side, and 200 people on the other side, they used to win the war because of the perception that they create that about the thing
yeah,
that
but exactly. So therefore, yeah. You want to? Yeah.
While we are busy, Yogi is going to speak to us. War and perception.
War is not on Jewish, it is on strategies.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And perceptions do not work.
So the marketing is of that same.
How can you say that? What we need to Rommel?
Rommel was basically ultimately they had the perfect information that Rommel was not like his supplies were there. The Arabian numbers was not good. And that's a problem. Iran was existent were all artificial cancer. Taken back to headquarters, very popular, he was brought back. All those things are done.
Okay, so now we know when Bhagavad Gita is talking about simplicity, what it means. Simplicity is not just a little advice, only simple and minimalist. Right? It means to hold these values of what Amanitvam and Adamya. These are huge values. When you shed the pride and pretense, you become an authentic human being. And when you become an authentic human being, you are not an ordinary human. Your presence is something which will stand out. It will stand out because of the conviction and the strength, the inner strength that you enjoy. You don't need to impress others, you don't need to flatter others, you don't need to, not just yourself. And that is what I think initially everyone was saying, be true to oneself is simplicity. Yeah. So now, this is the end of my talk on simplicity. Now, we have till 12:45, so we have about 25 minutes of, 15 minutes, 20 minutes of question and answer. So please go ahead.
I think this is what I think. The problem is with memory, because when you see children, they are very energetic, full of life, so they have no inhibitions of the past or any thoughts for the future. So they are living in the present. As we grow older and memory takes over with experiences and all of those things combined, is what makes us that pretentious, fake person that we become.
Okay.
Forget it and then back to yourself.
Yeah. See, now he's pointing out one interesting factor and he says that it is memory. Right? Because the kids don't have have is that the whole past is all erased. They don't have the idea. So therefore they don't have pretense. But as you grow, then we continue to have memory, and therefore what we have acquired those false values, and we have convinced ourselves that this is the norm, and then we begin to live by that. Okay? Now, can we categorically say memory is at fault? No. Why? Excellent. Right? Memory, please understand, because there is a lot of these new age who are constantly talking about be in the present, be in the present, be in the present. But actually, memory is something that our human brain comes with. Nobody can erase those memories. And nobody needs to erase those memories. Why? Because ask a person who's suffering from Alzheimer's what it is like not to have memory. They forget what? Their own sons, they forget how to open the cupboard, they forget everything. Without memory, your life would be miserable. So please don't say, oh, now I want to erase everything. Nobody can and nobody needs to. But what is true in your sentence is, right, we have selected memory. So that means so many events have happened in the past, but we carry a memory of what? Just few events when I was hurt, when I was sad, somebody did something to me, and what do? We keep playing tapes. Being a Vedanta teacher means everybody comes and tells me whatever, whoever they are. So no roles. Everybody, I get to know people just as they are. And it is surprising that sometimes people are carrying hurts, pain, anger, sadness for events which happened 20 years ago.
Somebody's hurt, pain, and all those things also
Sorry?
it's also gives you when your ego is getting hurt. This hurt, pain, and is also the reason getting ego also.
Yeah, so let's say, because let's not use the words, at least I don't. I don't use the word for ego because I haven't even defined yet what ego means. And so ego, the word ego means different. If I begin to ask now in the class, what does ego mean? Each one will give a different answer. Then you make something that we don't even understand what it is and we blame it. And then nobody learns anything. That's why our teacher teaches Gita in a very sane manner. I use only what? The words that are either known to you, or if I use the words which are not known to you, I have to define them. Because otherwise we just have this whole build-up of feeling that we learn things but we actually don't learn anything. Okay? So therefore, let's look at, just see this, please understand this, that the memory as such is something which is needed by you. All your work that you are doing requires what? Memory. If you had no memory, every second you have to go and ask your now what should I do? Now what should I do? And if that person, the boss also doesn't have memory, then what? We'll all be so lost without any memory. So memory is something which neither you should avoid nor you can avoid. Okay? Now, but the problem is, in those memories, there are some things which are very functional. All your day-to-day activities get done because of your memory, but there are certain things which are dysfunctional. What are those dysfunctional things? Certain events that you're holding and you're putting what? A tape. And as along with that tape comes what? Anger, helplessness. So that means those aspects of memory are empty. Not the entire faculty of memory. You must be able to distinguish between the two. So that aspect which is little distorted, what are you doing? You are bringing it back
becomes
into
dominant.
order. Right? Now how do you bring it back into order? First, don't deny. The first rule is don't deny it. If you are holding on to memories which are sad, fear, which gives you fear, which gives you anger, you don't say, oh, now I'm spiritual. These are bad thoughts. These are negative thoughts. Let me get rid of it. It will continue to stay there and control you. You have to accept that it is there. Having accepted that it is there, then go back and say, why am I seeing things the way I'm seeing? Can I see the same situation in a slightly different manner? When you begin to undo all the distortions and you're more in touch with reality, the impact of those emotions will slowly recede. They will lose that hold. But you have to stay with every emotion and see what is the mental chatter that you are having. Because events have happened, but you have given meanings to those events. And in that meaning that you have given, there could be a distortion. So you need to correct that meaning, then you are free from that emotion. If you don't correct the meaning, those emotions will stay with you forever. So therefore, you have to free that dysfunctional part with which your memory is done. And this is why, for non-pretense, what did I do? I didn't just tell you, don't be pretentious, don't be pretentious. I showed you what is the enormity of loss. When I make you see that, next time you will act hopefully differently. Because now you recognize the enormity of loss when I go along with the norm of this. So that means I'm cultivating your buddhi with a different information, and hopefully this new information will stay with you when you have to make your next decision. This is how we loosen the impact of memory and we act from knowledge. And this is what Bhagavad Gita is doing. That's what we call personal transformation. Yes.
So it may seem a little simple, but could you define what's Vedanta? Is it just about Vedas or more than that?
Okay, what is the word? Okay, that's a good question. What is the word Vedanta? Okay, the word Vedanta, literally in Sanskrit, it means Veda Anta. So what appears at the end of the Veda? What appears at the end of the Veda are Upanishads. Upanishads, there are many Upanishads and there are 10 main Upanishads. Why they are made? Not because they are saying anything different, but because Adi Shankaracharya has written extensive commentaries on those Upanishads. So therefore, Upanishads are so small, but the commentaries of Adi Shankaracharya make them into this size. So that means now when I'm coming and talking to you, I'm not just talking about whatever comes to my mind. I've studied that.
All those 10 Upanishads.
Yes. With Sanskrit commentaries of Adi Shankaracharya, which are brilliant pieces of work. Right? And then, so that means, and what is the subject matter of Vedanta? The subject matter of Vedanta is 3 or 4 things. It makes you, I'll tell you what it is. The first is it makes you further explore who you are. What is your real nature? What is your essential nature? That is the first. The second topic is, what is the nature of the universe? Because we find ourselves in this universe and we don't even know what is this universe all about. Okay? Then it makes us think about the third topic, which is, how did this universe come about? The cause of the universe. 3 topics. Right? And in order to understand this bigger picture, you need to grow as an individual. Because in its own vision, all that is here is one.
Advaita.
Advaita Vedanta. When you see diversity, it is all one. But in order for you to understand that reality and to live from that reality, you need to let go all your little distortions with which you live your life. So the fourth aspect of Vedanta is how to give up your little distortions like manitva, dambitva. You need to first get rid of them to understand this bigger picture. Okay? So it also talks about how to start looking for better daily. So this is the subject matter of Vedanta. Now, where does Bhagavad Gita come into the picture? Bhagavad Gita is actually saying the same thing that Upanishads talk about. This is why, if anybody knows how to chant Bhagavad Gita, at end of each chapter, they will say, Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade, then whatever, Purushottama Yogo Nama Panchadashotthyayaha. So that means, what is in Upanishad is also in Upanishad. Same topic. Okay? Who are you? What is the nature of the universe? What is the nature of the cause of the universe? And how to grow as an individual to assimilate that reality and to live that reality. 4 sentences, right? Why Gita has occupied such an important place in our whole culture? Because the fourth aspect, which is how to grow as a human being, right, is highlighted in Gita. They say the bigger reality will always remain inaccessible unless you reform yourself at a day-to-day level. So there is a lot of discussion about how to be in touch with reality and give up your distortions at a day-to-day level. So that's why Bhagavad Gita we also study, for which also Adi Shankaracharya has written. So that is the study of Vedanta. Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita. Yes?
Are there exercises that they maybe do in terms of understanding these 2 topics deeper and maybe understanding our actions?
Yeah, so see, this is a very deep topic, and therefore, this was just supposed to be like an introduction session where you get a little bit of insight into what the topic is. So in case you want to engage, because those exercises come along with training, it doesn't just come like dropping from the air. So then you can explore. Yes.
My question is fairly difficult to articulate, but I'll try my best. So, there's a lot that a person may want to do in the road to self-improvement and self-development. But what he is today is also a product of a lot of circumstances and experiences that he has lived through all his life. And even during the process of change, certain experiences may happen which may actually shake his belief at that point and may get him back into his original state. So it becomes like a sort of a vicious cycle. How do you actually break out of that cycle and move ahead despite the roadblocks that you may eventually encounter in the entire process?
This is a very good question, because, I will answer this question from the knowledge, because the person who introduced me, she talked about that I'm talking about Vedanta, modern psychology, neurosciences, quantum physics. So therefore, now I'm going to use neurosciences to answer your question.
Just to add to what you said, there are also, you just said there's a distrust that you feel towards the other person as society because you yourself are into this not there. Maybe that's a reaction to the coping mechanism because you've been affected by one such behavior. So, I mean, you might not be at fault per se, but then that's a result.
So that means that whole thing is like, let's say if you yourself are not like that, you meet a person who has been pretentious, then you carry forward that impression, right, in your mind. So next time you meet whoever, you cannot trust that person because what your interaction with that given person is what in your mind, right? So now this is an easy answer. The answer is one person is pretentious. Does it mean everybody is pretentious? No. So therefore, see, you have to use discretion. You have to be fresh with every interaction. You can't carry forward opinions with huge generalizations. So that means you have to be alert in every point. You have to assess that person freshly without any baggage. And then you have to do what you need to do. That is being objective. Right? The generalization that we carry, which we actually carry a huge generalization, and that is a problem. Right? So that is. Now, your question I would just like to answer using neuroplasticity. So what Pallavi is saying is absolutely right. Okay? The way you have thought up to now, how many people had exposed themselves to Gita earlier? Hardly 5, 6, right? And other than that, all of you have been living your life. And you all have given some meaning to your whole life. Right? Who are you? What is the universe? What is your relationship with the universe? What is the relationship you have with the cause of the universe? You've given your own. Nobody can live with blank slate. So that means those beliefs have become you. So neuroscientifically, what we call is, you have neurons and they have created their own pathways based on stories that you have told yourself, about the world, and about whatever, the interaction between you and the world. So that means there are what? Well-defined pathways with each time that given picture of the world that you have, a new situation happens, you try to fit in to that picture and you reinforce that framework. So there are few mindsets. One mindset is what we call a victim. That mindset is you always feel you're good and everybody else is out there to get you. And you are always victim of people's unfairness. So every situation happens, you try to fit into this whole picture that you have created for yourself. There is another mindset which is what we call, I'm a failure. There are some who blame others, there are some others who blame themselves. I'm no good, I'm not doing well. This whole inferiority complex, that you feel less than others, it's a huge problem. And every time something happens, oh, yeah, that other person got promotion, so yeah, I'm no good anyway. So you keep on telling yourself that, I'm not deserving. So that means you have created the worldview, and every new input you use to reinforce that worldview. That has created what we call neuron pathways. Now, you come and you listen to Bhagavad Gita for 1 hour. You think they are all going to be rewired in one event with 1 hour presentation? It's impossible. And this is why what Pallavi is saying, you go back into your patterns because they have actually created neural pathways in your brain. If you want to recreate if you want to first understand and then based on that new understanding, bring that understanding when new situations arise and act differently. How many times you have to do it in order to actually physically change the neuron pathways? Many, many, many times. Because now you have 50 years of patterns of behavior against 1 hour of Gita. You will naturally fall back on your past patterns. There is no way, no human being is a superhuman being who can change, because there is a biological fact. So if you want to change, you need to do 2 things. First, constantly listen to this new input where it makes you what? Acquire new knowledge about life, new knowledge about your role in the universe, new knowledge about the cause of the universe, new knowledge about that alignment. Constantly give that feedback, expose yourself to that knowledge. And not only expose yourself to this knowledge, but when you go out there, and when you have to make decisions, when you have to make actions, bring that knowledge and use it to do things differently. The more you are able to do it, right, the more physically that will be achieved. But it cannot happen. It requires a lot of effort, both listening to what this new perspective is, and then secondly, incorporating that perspective into your behaviors. So that's why, yes, there will be ups and downs. Sometimes the new knowledge will prevail. Sometimes your old patterns will take over, but there is no problem. Once you are aware, then you can actually navigate your life intelligently to make more and more this knowledge clear.
Wouldn't philosophy, making a philosophy for yourself, answer most of these questions? For example, if you had a philosophy of life
Yes.
to live and if you were to abide by it,
Yes.
wouldn't that make things more simpler?
I mean, you can, but here, what was it not simple? What I was talking about, amanitvam, adambitvam, was it not simple? Was I making it complicated in some high-flying philosophy? And how many people would have, if you had to make a presentation on simplicity, how many of you would have incorporated these ideas in your thinking with your own little philosophies? You would have just given some advice, oh yeah, be simple and this and that, and you don't need many things. This is where our human brain happens. So therefore, you always can create some philosophy of yours. But what this problem is,
No,
it
don't
is,
misunderstand me.
yes,
For example, when I look at successful companies,
yes,
they always have a philosophy for themselves.
yes.
So there's an X thing that they do and they do it right. There's a Y thing that they will not do no matter what the situation. So philosophy governing self such that the byproduct is success.
But as I told you,
If I may just
yes,
after what we said, my
Yes.
interpretation of what we say is having a value system.
Yes.
So you know this is the value system, is that correct?
yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's true. Actually, it's true. It's good to have value system, but which you live. But imagine, right? If I tell you the value is for speaking the truth, okay? Let's say you say the value is for speaking the truth. But if you, at times, when you have to ask for your promotion, and you feel that your promotion will come if you misrepresent certain information, then what will happen? You are repeating to your corporate head every day, I have to follow the value of truth, I have to follow the value of truth. But when a situation arises, if you haven't really understood why this value is important, right? And if you have not totally understood the value of values, then that value will remain what? Superficial anytime you will sacrifice it. Because you compare following that value against what your personal gain. And the minute you begin to see your personal gain somewhere else and not in speaking the truth, you will sacrifice. This is human nature. That's why we need to make your buddhi deeper. Where you will not act on these superficial sayings or superficial iterating, which we all do but we never actually follow. It has to gain depth. And in order for it to gain depth, you need to analyze this. And you need to read understand this. Otherwise, it will only remain something will make you go off that track. Is that it? Okay, so it was lovely
Thank you.
to talk to you all.
Thank you very much.
Okay.